How's it going, everyone? Today I'm going to be doing a video on what I would pack in a patrol pack. I got my Alice pack right here. I'm just going to be going over some things that I would take on a kind of a military type patrol, what you would do on like a military exercise, stuff like that. Just kind of some essentials to pack. I'm not going to get into a bunch of like mission essential equipment. This is just going to be kind of like a basic pack, like, you know, clothing, food, water, like all your kind of like basics that you would need out in the field for, you know, a week or however long you're going to be out there, right? So jump on board the Ponytail Express and let's ride that to Knowledge Town. First thing to consider when you're packing your pack, if you're going to be going across any rivers, lakes, or like basically getting this thing soaked, you're going to want everything in this pack to be waterproof. That's in heavy duty plastic bags, sealed up, and if you do that properly, your pack, instead of filling up with water and getting soaked and weighing like 300 pounds, will actually float and actually work as a life preserver a little bit when you're in a river like this. It floats. One thing I like about the Alice pack is you can see it's wet, but it's got these drain holes in the bottom. Water just drains right out of it. All my stuff inside is sealed up in plastic bags, knotted up, and it's not soaked. So once this water finishes draining out, it's not really gonna weigh any more, you know, maybe slightly more, but it's not gonna like double or triple in weight just because it got wet. All right, everyone, got my pack out of the river. Gonna unpack it for you here. Another thing to note is that you'll probably can tell that most of the material on the pack is not that wet. That's because a long time ago in a galaxy far away, I sprayed this thing with spray on, like water repellent. It's called Camp Dry, and we used to do that to a lot of our packs and stuff in the military. It just helps it shed water better when it's raining and stuff like that, and then it gets less soaked if it gets dunked or, you know, anything like that. So it's less weight that you have to carry because it's not waterlogged. So that's a nice little extra tidbit in there. All right, let's get into what's in my pack. Yes, I have little quick release buckles on my Alice pack. Strongly recommend doing that. This pack is a huge pain in the ass if you don't have that and you have to like uncinch and recinch the straps all the time just to open this top flap. It's really annoying. All right, I think I'm just gonna go outside in, so I'm gonna just go the 3 small pouches on the outside here and these 3 larger pouches, then we'll get into the main compartment. The outer pouches are mostly just gonna be little things that I wanna be able to grab. Just, you know, as I'm moving, I can throw my pack off, grab something out of it, you know, and then throw it back on and go, right? So it's just gonna be small essentials. It's not gonna be like any gear that I would be using for, hey, I'm bedding down at night, or hey, we're gonna be static here for a while. It's gonna be little like grab and go kind of items, extra socks if I need to change my socks, stuff like that. So first pouch, we got hygiene items, got some hand sanitizer, and then the rest of the stuff, it's all in a Ziploc bag. Let's see what I got in here. Got a disposable razor. Got a little toothbrush in case your teeth get fuzzy out in the field. Got some foot powder. This is good for keeping your feet dry and preventing blisters, keeping your feet from kind of rubbing in your boots, stuff like that. So that's nice. Then I got some nail clippers. You don't want like hangnails and or just overly long toenails and stuff rubbing in your boots. You can get a blood blister underneath your toenail and then it's gonna die and fall off, and that's not good, right? So toenail clippers are nice, and chapstick. You can put chapstick on your fingers and stuff too if your skin's getting dried out and you're getting like hangnails and your skin's just cracking and stuff. You can just rub some chapstick on it. That'll help keep it moisturized a little bit if you don't have lotion or something like that. All right, next pocket, pretty simple. I got some signaling stuff. Got a couple of chem lights, old chem lights from when I was in the military. And I got a variety pack of batteries. Got some AA's, some AAA's, and some CR123s in there. Nothing special, but just kind of stuff to keep all my gear sustained and keep it going right. The 1, 2, 3s will work in, you know, depending on what kind of nods you have, they'll work in nods, or flashlights and stuff like that, weapon lights. I don't have a gun with me right now, but obviously if I'm doing a military style patrol, I will, right? So it's good for that stuff. And then AA's and AAA's go in all kinds of stuff. Headlamps for AAA's, and AA's fit all kinds of shit. So that's handy. This pouch right here, got some fire starting stuff. I got these little pucks that are just soaked in candle wax. They're like makeup removing cotton pads. And then I got a lighter in there, just a normal thick lighter. And I got some 550 cord. That's not bagged up. It's not super critical. If it gets wet, that's not gonna hurt anything. So that's all I got in there. Set this out actually. All right, let's get into these larger outer pouches here. Right here, if I can get it out. It's got a canteen. It's got water in it. And then I got shoved down in this pouch. This is not so easy to get out, but there's a canteen cup down in here. Give me just 1 second here. Fits nice and tight in this pouch, which is nice in some ways. Got a little bit of river water in there. But yeah, canteen cup. You can put food in it, cook it, or, you know, boil water over a little fire. Pretty simple. And it just nests right like that. Pretty simple. Next pouch. What do we got here? All right, got 2 or 3 pairs of good hiking socks in there. I think those are Darn Toughs, good wool socks. They'll last a long time. When I was in ranger school and stuff like that, they always like tell you to pack a pair of socks for every day you're going to be in the field. That's nice and all, but I don't want to be walking around with like 10 pairs of socks. I usually would just rotate between 2 or 3 pairs, let them dry out and wear them. If you have good socks, that's not really so much of an issue. Obviously it's going to depend on what your feet can take too. So, you know, trying that stuff out, and this is why getting out and using your gear is important. You need to kind of find out what works for you and what doesn't, right? All right, what else do we have in here? All right, got a little water purifier. Let's see, there's a Sawyer squeeze in here. Yep, Sawyer squeeze. I just have it in a little bag. But it's just a little filter, and it screws onto this. You fill this baggie up with water from like the river, and then you can just screw this on, and you drink from it, or you can just squeeze it out if you want to refill your canteen or whatever you gotta do, right? So, pretty simple water purification device if you don't want to be boiling water in like your canteen cup or something like that. All right, last outer pouch. All right, as you can see, all this stuff is individually bagged to keep the water out too, right? So that's important. Make sure you get nice heavy-duty Ziploc bags so the zipper is not just gonna fail. You might have seen one of these bags, I think it was the one with the hygiene items in it. A little bit of water did leak in there because I used some cheap sandwich bags that I had just lying around. I need to replace that. But anyway, these bags are pretty good though, these gallon Ziploc bags. And I've got a base layer in there. It's just, if you're familiar with military equipment, it's just a level 1 long like pants and long shirt. It's just an under layer to keep you warm in the wintertime. Pretty simple. You can get any kind of whatever civilian base layer type clothing. Not a big deal. I'm not telling you to go and buy military equipment. All right, I got a Camelback. It's not filled because I just leave this pack in my closet all the time, so I don't want to just leave it filled with water and that water be nasty in case I gotta grab it. This is one of those things where I just know, hey, I'm gonna have to fill that up if I'm grabbing that pack before I go. Let's get into the radio pouch here in the top before we get into the main stuff. All right, got a couple extra trash bags. That's if I put a hole in one of the trash bags that's in here that most of my gear is in or something, or I need a trash bag for something else. You know, I need to cut a couple of arm and head holes in it and wear it because I didn't bring rain gear or something like that. unexpected stuff. Trash bags are pretty useful. Make sure you get nice heavy duty trash bags. These are not the best. This is just what I had sitting around to use as an example. But what I've used in the past when I was in the military and stuff is these nice thick black contractor bag trash bags. You can find them at like hardware stores and stuff like that. They're awesome. They're really thick plastic and they last a long time. All right, also in this radio pouch kind of up in the top because it's a heavier item, we got 4 M4 magazines and a bandolier. You know, so that's kind of like, I need to ditch this pack, throw the bandolier on and have some extra ammo. Maybe I'm only patrolling with a chest rig with like 1 or 2 mags on it and I want to plus that up in the event of an emergency or something like that. Got that right there. And because it's a heavy, dense item, it goes towards the top of the pack. You want the heavier items up by your shoulders and the lightweight items down low. Also in the top here, I've got an old flare tube from the military. It's a nice watertight thing and it's got a little extra survival kit in it. It's got a small flashlight, an extra lighter, a little pocket knife. You can just use, and then it's got some 550 cord stuff down in there. The rest of it's just full of 550 cord jammed in there. It's a nice little survival kit if, you know, something else that I have somewhere else in this pack breaks, whatever. So that's kind of a backup. All right, I took out the top bag of the 2 bags that are in the main compartment of my pack. This is gonna be kind of more like mission essential equipment again that I wanna get to more quickly. All right, so let's untie this. And this is also just kind of an example of some mission equipment. I'm not saying that you need to have this in a pack or whatever, but this is kind of a placeholder or an example for something you might be carrying in the military if it was called for. All right. You always want to make sure when you're packing these up to get all the air out and then give it a nice good several twists. Helps keep it sealed from the moisture. First thing I got on top, I got a couple of, I got an MRE and then I got my own kind of like homemade MRE just as a couple examples of food that I might carry with me. I'd have more than this most likely. Probably try and plan for 2 meals a day, hopefully, but you might not have time for that. So, all right, so for the mission equipment that I just have as a stand-in here, got a climbing harness, carabiner, figure 8 descender, and some rope. This isn't a ton of rope, it's like 25 meters of rope, but it's decent for, you know, you gotta get down a little steep piece of terrain or a cliff, or you gotta haul a bag, you know, up a steep, you know, thing that you climbed up or something like that. Can be handy, right? There's a lot of uses for rope. Not saying you're gonna have this in a military situation, but again, I don't have, you know, a bunch of pork chops of saw ammo that I can throw on my ruck or whatever. Now I'm a civilian, so that was just kind of a stand-in for any kind of random, you know, radio batteries, ammo, explosives, you know, whatever you're gonna kind of have in this pack, right? All right, last bag down in here. It's gonna be kind of your least necessary items, or kind of the things that you're only gonna use at the very end of the day or when you're bedding down, and that's bedding. Also really quickly, if you guys want me to do a video on kind of how I make these like homemade rations that I use, make sure you know, comment or something like that. I'll probably do a video on those eventually, but if you guys show a lot of support for that, I'll try and get that put out quickly. All right, what do I have first? I got a pillow. It's an old camp pillow from when I was a kid, but it's nice to have a pillow. I hated being in the military and having to like use, you know, balled up t-shirts or whatever for a pillow. It's really uncomfortable. You don't have a pillow and your head is just like cocked way down to the side. You're gonna end up with a sore neck, and that's no fun, right? So pillow's nice. Got some extra cold weather gear. This is just a top and bottom. Some slightly warmer clothes if I end up in cold weather. This pack is kind of set up for all seasons. It doesn't get super cold where I live, but Again, also if it's incredibly cold, I'm probably going to have some warm clothes on already while I'm walking or something like that. Not a ton, but I'll have some with me. So this is to kind of augment that, right? Next up, got a hammock. Super light, simple. Carrying a tent, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of setup and breakdown and stuff like that. And I don't really enjoy sleeping in bivvies. If you're like seriously exhausted, you're just gonna fall asleep anyway. But if you're doing something where you're not totally just bone tired, the hammock is super comfortable, at least for me. Some people hate sleeping in hammocks. I like it. I think it's really comfortable. Only downside is you can get kind of cold on your backside or whatever, it drafts. But I think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, and it's very small and lightweight, so it doesn't really bother me that much. Last piece of gear in here, got a military style bivvy. It's a Gore-Tex bivvy on the outside, and then I got a, hold on, then I got a light sleeping bag. This is the summer bag in here. Snaps inside of it. Super nice. Again, it's not that lightweight, and I'm sure there's civilian options out there that are much better than this. But it's just some random gear that I have, and I don't mind carrying a little bit of extra weight. I'm young and stuff, so it doesn't bother me that much, and it'll go really well in the hammock and with other clothes and stuff like that. I'll be able to still sleep in fairly cold weather in that, so it's pretty good. And the Gore-Tex helps keep the wind out and stuff, which is nice if it's windy. All right guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is just kind of a basic loadout of what you would have in your pack, aside from mission essential equipment for whatever it is that you're actually trying to do. Hope this kind of explains it a little bit. The stuff isn't that heavy, but if you start, you know, adding a bunch more meals for, say, like I said, 10 days or something like that, it's going to get a lot heavier. You throw water in there, it's going to get a lot heavier, and then you end up throwing in things like I said, like 800 rounds of saw ammo or something. It's going to get heavy quick. So just make sure you're getting out, exercising, training, work with your equipment, find out what works, what doesn't for you, and hopefully you don't need to use it. Take care. Whew, the water's cold.